Okay, welcome back. So this was actually part of a different chapter. Hmm. Let's look at this for a second. This is my chapter. This is more like a scene than a chapter. I guess this is why I had it in multiple chapters. I mean, this is could be enough for like a one story beat. Um, Technically one page, not like a whole chapter. Let's see something here. It's got 4 lines. Arrives at aboard a train. Text activate the machine. Just demonstrates it. Then 1,000 gates are opened. That isn't even really enough for a chapter. I think that's why I included it in a different chapter because there's not much there as far as that goes. So let's go and let's check out. We'll just check out the Much Ado About Quicksilver, and we'll see how that's organized. See this? This is like one story beat, right? One page. This is a single story beat. His dad's trapped in the Gnome Kingdom. Actually, what's kind of interesting, right? Because what was I thinking about doing? I was thinking about adding another chapter for the story arc, right? Like for instance, going into uh right when they're about ready to go into the battle. In the Gnome Kingdom, Roland knows all kinds of people and creatures work in the mines. He spots a giant chained to one of the machines that can't identify and starts walking towards him. Roland asks if he's his dad, and the giant confirms it. He then tells Roland to find Hebert and tell Hebert that Max seems to need a lot of Quicksilver. Yeah, almost. I can almost. Okay, this is kind of weird though. I mean, it's not weird, but it's like this could actually be chapter 11 here. Chapter 11 could be this. Um, that is kind of interesting though. Let's go back to what did I just what was chapter 10 just about, right? Chapter 10. Oh, oh, oh. The splitting headache. All right. All right. Fire up the machine. So this is them getting out of Lapswood, right? And heading to this is after the escape. After they went into Lapswood, almost lost their memory, completely stopped everything. They got out and they're heading to the Bats in the Belfry Motel, where the Count's presumably be waiting. Fire up the machine. Because I could almost combine the two in the sense that the need for a major amount of Quicksilver. think I think there's something I kind of left out here in the story here because let's see if I can, let's go back here to where he's exploring Wizard U. Uh, let's go all the way back. The pool of disappointment. Um, okay, let's do here. Fire in the sky. That's just a page. Drag him out. Few answers. Our princess is missing. A tornado. Hubert's old flame. Vanilla opens it and starts flipping pages. Okay, so this is where he talks to Vanilla. Guess who's back in town? Okay, an empty case. Okay, so does he, a few minutes later, he gives a click. Pitch is different. Okay. So, I even kind of spelled it out here. So the conclusion Huber draws is a mysterious figure that enters into some sort of device, turns it on, able to pluck the scepter from the trophy case via a mini portal. Only one man is smart enough, dialogical enough to do it, maximizing the spell. The spell had been banished for attempting to take over other realms within the lands. They had taken his magic away and put it in a painting and posted it directly to the Hall of Fame. That way they could keep an eye on it should he ever come back. The only problem is his painting is gone. The other wizards look like they've been trapped in their own painting, so he must be back. Okay. So okay, so there's a little bit of a disconnect. The way I did the story. So the idea here is that shoot, they need to like a discussion and stuff. I need to write that down somewhere. Oh, you know what though? You know what I could do? If I leave, okay, so if I leave chapter 11 in the way it is, so I just figured out a way just to I just discovered a way to cover my gap here. Okay, so here's the gap, right? The gap is he was able to steal the scepter, and later on, I might actually make that like an important object. So he didn't just steal it just to test out his device. Okay, but anyways, that's beside the point right now. Right now, the point is that the his device does not need Quicksilver to operate. That's kind of the big deal. Okay, but he still needs giant amounts of Quicksilver in order for his machine to work. So the disconnect here is I didn't explain how those two were kind of linked, right? Why would he need Quicksilver if he's got a device that doesn't need Quicksilver? Well, um, now I did this. I wrote this on purpose. I wrote the story on purpose. This is the way it's supposed to go. So it's not just I didn't just use it as a sort of a cover up. Well, I kind of did at first, sort of, um, because I figured out this deal about this device, and I went, well, why would he need the tons of Quicksilver? Because the original story was that he abducted citizens and tourists to work as mimes, and he would need Quicksilver if he didn't need Quicksilver. But the way I came up with this to bridge this little, like, you almost might call it a plot hole, is the idea is he needs a ton of power. It's not just that that he can do this. It's that the device is only making enough room for a person to step through a portal. he needs something that can open multiple portals everywhere. Okay. Now, okay, and then there's the science of portal magic, right? It sounds kind of weird, the science of magic, but isn't that Terry Pratchett Discworld novel? It's called The Science of Magic or something. Anyways, I've never read the book, so I've only tangentially heard of them. Um, and maybe someday I'll get to like read them, the Discworld novels. But I've seen a couple of the made for TV movies for the Discworld stuff. But in any case, so the science goes that when you hold a piece of quicksilver, it kind of amplifies into your thoughts and tunes it into uh, where you want the portal to open. So you have an intent. You say, I want to go here, right? And you say these words, right? You say the magic words. They're just words of intent. So the words aren't even as important exactly, but you express your intent through the words. So you hold on to Quicksilver, you express your intent. A portal opens because the magic, because your brain tunes into a frequency of where you want to go, the frequency of the location. So that's sort of like the made up science, right? That I made up for portal magic. So he's created a device that doesn't need that to use it, right? So you don't need an intent. So the idea here is that not that you have a device that doesn't need Quicksilver, is that you also don't need the intent. In other words, you can find the frequency of the location that you want to go to. If you find the correct frequency, then it will open a portal there. But in order to have enough power to open a giant portal, thousands of portals at the same time, and large enough for armies to walk through, he still needs massive amounts of Quicksilver because it's still magic, right? Even though the magic has kind of a science to it, right? So the idea is that um, so the idea he has this device, and the device is kind of on purpose because it means that he doesn't need to have, he doesn't need like everybody to have a piece of Quicksilver, like the armies, right? Like the army, he doesn't need a Quicksilver. Now, the machine actually amplifies, right? So the machine actually makes it to where you can open large portals and you can open many of them. The device that's the devices, the little portal opening devices are embedded in the thing. So now it's just a matter of turning on the machine, tuning in the right frequency to open the portals to the right places, right? So, but you still need Quicksilver, and Quicksilver is essentially the power. It's like electricity kind of. Magic's kind of like electricity. I don't know if I mentioned this before a couple of times. When when I watched Star Wars as a kid, I always thought of the Force as electricity, right? Electricity is this force that we kind of harness. You can kind of harness for good or evil, right? Like a tool, like a gun. Um, but it's invisible. You can't really see it unless you have a buildup and you have an electric arc that shows itself as photonic light, right? That it shows it creates these photons and emits this radiation or whatever, and you see that kind of as lightning. But electricity, you don't see the electricity, right? Um, um, yeah, so you don't really see electricity, um, but it's basically our whole modern world kind of works on this stuff, right? We have electric lights, we have got computers, we have got all kinds of stuff that works on electricity, and pretty much everything that we have works on electricity. Even cars, even though cars have an internal combustion engine that run on fuel, the it has a generator that generates electricity, right? You have a battery that uses electricity. So when I was when I was watching Star Wars, I always thought of the Force as sort of like electricity, right? I wasn't thinking of it like the stupid religion thing, right? And then later on, George Lucas claimed that it was a religion, and the Jedi and the Sith, they were a religion. Of course, there's the one line in the original Star Wars where Tarkin mentions that Darth Vader is the last of his religion or whatever, and so that's that the thing of where George Lucas probably thought of it like a religion, I guess, right? But but I always thought of it like electricity. So when I do a magic in here, um, I always like the idea of separating stuff from real stuff. Like like witchcraft and stuff. I don't want to have anything to do with any of that kind of stuff, right? For real, what you call for real. The Bible actually says to not have any part to do with any of those guys that practice sorcery and witchcraft basically. And so there's a little something to it, but it's not you know altogether right, correct, proper, whatever you want to say. So so I like my idea. I like the way like say, for instance, Lord of the Rings handles magic, right? Magic is matter of fact. There isn't too much mechanics built in. They talks about the dark speech with Sauron and the bad guys, and then you know Gandalf does his magic is kind of matter of factly. He uses a scepter. He draws out uh, Theoden, right? King Theoden. I don't remember the stupid names now because it's been a while since I watched the movies or read the books. But um, so basically, Gandalf lights the way with this staff. He does different things with the staff, right? The different magic things, and it's not they don't like have like spells and stuff. I mean, the way it's presented in both the movies and the books, it isn't. It's presented as a matter of fact. This is how this works, right? Just like electricity, we turn on a light and the light comes on, and we we don't um, we don't have the mechanics of electricity and how electricity works to turn on a light. You just flip a switch and the light comes on, right? So that's how I like to think of the magic thing when I'm putting magic in my thing. It's like there's a science, right? It's like magic. Magic is a sort of a natural, let's say, a natural phenomenon. Just like I used to think of the force was as the idea was it was a natural phenomenon that they harnessed to do stuff, right? We harness electricity to do all kinds of things, and if if you were to take this back to medieval times, um, and you showed them a flashlight, they would think it was black magic, right? How did you do this? You turn on this thing, and there's it's emitting light by itself, and that'd be like magic to them. And so it's our stuff, our modern technology, Wi-Fi technology, wireless technology. It's like magic, right? You can be anywhere and you can have these images beamed into your phone, and then you have a battery that generates electricity in order to run it. And it's like it's like magic. We look at it as technology, right? So that's the way I set up my magic thing in here. So there's a science, you might say. There's a study. There's a mechanics, a real world, like a natural mechanics to the magic in my story. And I know I don't go too deep because it's a comedy, fantasy, adventure. It's going to be a cartoon and all this stuff. So nobody has to know about the how I created the mechanics of the magic, or whatever, or how I said it. But um, you can do this, right? So the idea is you have this. Say you're in a medieval game, or it's a movie, or even a book, or you're playing an RPG, and your mage can wield fireballs, right? And it can shoot stuff with fireballs, right? Uh, that's the same thing as a guy that has a gun, right? So a guy has a gun, he shoots with the gun, right? So that's the same sort of idea here. Okay, so back to my story. The story here is that he's built a device that doesn't need the whole intent thing. You don't need to hold on a piece of Quicksilver, right? Um, I could possibly say that it does have a Quicksilver in there, and so the device is purely so that they don't have to have the intent. They don't have to have somebody say, want to think up, where to go. They want to just be able to open up, turn on the device and let it go. You tune it into the right frequency, like you would a radio or whatever. You know, let's say there's an electronic lock on something, and somehow you can trigger the lock to unlock if you have the right radio frequency. Let's say your car, right? Like your car door. You have your key fob, right? So your key fob, you press the button, and it sends a signal through the air to the car that picks it up and says, okay, go ahead and unlock the doors. It's just like you have the key, right? So the idea is you don't need to go physically put the key in the hole, turn the key to open up the unlock mechanism, right? You can just press a button and it does it automatically. So this is the same idea. That same idea that now to open a portal, you can open a portal anywhere as long as you know the frequency, or you can play around and test frequencies until you find one that actually opens up into something. So that's the whole thing. Okay, so he steals a scepter, and he tries to figure out how he did it, and he realizes he probably has some sort of device that does it. And now you're going back to the machine, and it requires a ton of Quicksilver. He's got to mine it, and you're kind of going, well, if he's got these devices, why does he need it? Well, that he still needs it because it amplifies the power, right? Okay, so now I almost forgot what I was going to do to bridge that gap, but if we go into what was I going to say now? Um, let's go. Where's the thing? Art the machine. Okay, let's look at this again. Uh, dang it! I now explaining my thing. Now I forgot what I was going to do here. Um, okay, so I was going back to the thing. Like I could almost join this with the next chapter. This could actually just be a one story beat in the next chapter. In fact, I could combine those other couple story beats because they go along with each other, and then there's this. Okay, so what was I gonna do here? What I was gonna say is there is a gap. So Hubert knows about the device, or at least he doesn't know that much about the device. He just knows that it'll open a portal somewhere, and a tiny portal at that. So they don't really know anything to do about that information. I don't know. I forgot now. Before I was thinking, maybe I need to put more stuff in this chapter, or maybe I could do the, a multiple story arc that's going to add another chapter, and I realize, no, that's dumb because there isn't enough to add another chapter, right? Okay, so let's see, the machine, the Omni-Gate. Okay, so they don't actually know the full plans, right? Actually, let me look at something here. This is what I was gonna. This might have been what I was thinking about doing here. Much ado about Quicksilver. So what happens here at the beginning, right, Gnome Kingdom, okay. Start talking to Hebert until they finally get the count. Roland asks the count if he has any ideas where Hebert is. Count says he'll go and try to find him, turn to the bat. Roland sits down. Now, Roland's waiting. Um, I wonder if should swap these around. Because this still concerns. Okay. The big deal here is they figure out that they're going to need a ton of Quicksilver, and that there's all these people are enslaved in the mines, right? So that's kind of part of the thing, and that's part of the information here. Let me think about it for a second. Because our heroes don't really know. They don't really have the connection. In fact, they don't have anything that would make a connection that would really concern them. In other words, it doesn't matter that he found out that there's a device that can open a portal without Quicksilver. I mean, I guess you could. I guess the idea is he would, when he figured out what had happened with this scepter stealing, then he should have been able to put together the fact that he used it without Quicksilver, right? Because he detected there was some magic involved, but it didn't trip any of the wards. So it's a different kind of magic, right? So he did make the conclusion that Max used the device. That whoever it was used a device that opened up this portal, right? So he knows it's a mechanical device. Okay, so we still need something that our heroes kind of make the connection, right? Let me think for a second. Um, I mean, I could still get rid of the one chapter. So then we're back to the 18 chapters, and I'm rewriting everything. Okay, let me do the thing. The Gnome Kingdom. What you do about Quicksilver? Roland. Okay. Okay, so this is where they go back into the Gnome Kingdom. All right. Okay, so this only has three deals in here. Let's see something here, because okay, so 12 and 13 would actually work together because they're part of the same arc, you might say. Because he goes into the mines, right, and then he goes back to Scarborough Fruit Chicken to tell them about it. So these actually kind of work together. Okay, 2, 3, 4. That's interesting. So what if I do a little bit of rejiggering? What if um, we're gonna say this is all part of the same arc. I don't know why I'm having such a time here with this, but it's just I'm trying to think of how to reconfigure these the best way. So like I put the firing up of the Omni-Gate first, and just close that. Um, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Is that right? Does that this has just three beats? This has just 3 beats. Okay. And then one more means I can eliminate a chapter, which I don't necessarily want to eliminate a chapter. I guess that's kind of the problem I'm having. It's not really a real problem. Having less chapters is fine to me. It's just the fact that I'm gonna have to rename everything, and I wonder. I should go back to before. Here, let's do something here. Let's uh, let's go back to a previous version. Um, let's go back to 12 first, and let's look at chapter 11, Lost in Lapswood. Okay. Oh, okay. So let's just let's check these out. Okay, we'll start with. I guess I'll start with this, and I'll just open these in a text file. Uh, um, anyways, text thing. Um, that's totem leadership. We don't want that one. I don't know. Maybe you do want that one. This is actually before we did the totem leadership, though. That's a good thing there. I can figure that. Okay, so let's do this. I want to it'll be kind of hard to search through all this stuff, but what I want to do is I want to figure out where we fired up the. Okay, instantly teleported elsewhere. Lapswood. Okay, I get it. Okay, next. Scarborough Fried Chicken. Hubert sits down. Okay, the Gnome Kingdom. Much ado about Quicksilver. Even though this is called the Gnome Kingdom, it's because this is when they actually go into the Gnome Kingdom. Uh, proceeds, Sir William. Okay, that's fine. Tear in the skies. Back to the mines. Tome of Leadership. Fairy God College, blah, blah, blah. Gnome Kingdom. Rescued. Okay, that's fine. Let's go to the next one. In the shadows. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything either. John finds a good book. That's in Valkyrie. Okay, forget that. John lands a date. Okay, so something's wrong here. Um, maybe it's before. So I'm gonna have to go in and open up the these previous ones here because I need to know where. Maybe I created it because I didn't actually have it. Maybe that's the point. Because basically, pick a time, Mikado. Okay. Actually, let's just open these because anything before that is not going to be. Pull from statue, Minecast. Where? Okay, I'm gonna have to do this a little bit differently because back night. Oh, okay. Max gets word the Omni-Gate is ready for testing, so he leaves the castle. That is Zanzibar's last show. Okay, that kind of makes sense then. That's 10. That's chapter 10. Okay. Okay, so let's just that was 10. Okay, let's open that, that, that. Tear in the skies. Back to the mines. Let's open those up. Okay. Omni-Gate is ready for testing here. Okay. Forest, John translates, memory, human speech, wizard garb, recognizes the road, okay. Half dwarf, half giant approaches the entrance. Giant chains the machines. Scarborough for chicken, sitting down, find him. Tell him, okay, the princess, papers the princess grabbed, Omni-Gate. Maybe I made that up based on that one line of text in chapter 10. You know, it's not chapter 10 now, but it was back then before I did a few things here. Violet comes out, Violet yells, East Depot, flying, Crooked-Tooth, Chester Nestor, okay, and back to the mines. The night school. Zanzibar's last show. Guard searching. Zanzibar, he's been stealing. Okay, that was. Oh, right. That's because that was 10, right? Okay, and then we got 11. Lapswood. Some hats. Now they're out of Lapswood. Now. So maybe what I did, see, I'm not sure what I did when I did it. But okay, so this is backup 12. Let's go to backup 13. So did I here, here. Let's open these up again here. Black Knight. Omni-Gate's ready for testing. Maybe what it was I realized that he didn't have a thing where he fires it up, right? And so I figured maybe that's why I should go ahead and add. Here, let's see some here. Well, it's kind of interesting here is backup 13. Rooms backup was the latest one, and rooms backup is where I presumably added fire up the machine. Oh, okay. Well, how did I manage to okay, so what's all right. Let's open this in a new window. Let's go to design documents. Let's go to rooms backup 13. 13 doesn't have that. Okay, and then this does have it. And so somehow I managed to keep the number of chapters the same. So let's look at that and figure out why. How I managed to what I managed to do to change, what the difference is here. So we're gonna go all the way up to the top, and I'm gonna quickly. Okay, we got. Yeah, I don't care if there's copies and non-copies and whatever. It's fine. Preface. Pre. Let's bring this down a little bit, just so that they're kind of at least sort of aligned here. Okay, let's do this. That. Okay, so I can look at them. Hebert goes for help. Okay, let's go down. Where's the next one? See the twin brothers. 2, see the twin brothers. Okay, so we're gonna go down here we're gonna go all the way up to where 3 is near the top. Okay, we're gonna go back to where 3 is near. Oh. 3 is back to school. 3 is back to school. Okay, that's fine. Okay, where's chapter 4? Oh, there's 4. 4 is the tragedy of Sir William. Now, the tragedy of Sir William is 4. 5 is the princess gets a room. What is chapter 5 here? 5 is the princess gets a room. Okay. 6, the unicorn goes to school. Now this is maybe where it changes here. 6 is Red Hot Riding Hood. So that's how we ended up with 19, and then when I added the Fire Up the Machine chapter, we got it back to 20. Okay, so that's where it happened. That's what I did. All right. So, oh hey Rook, welcome to the second part of the stream, which is going to be over in about 35 minutes. Okay, so let me so let me see something here, because I have a chance to basically just remove that chapter. I don't need that extra chapter. I can combine it. I can combine it with the other two chapters because they're part of the same thing. Even though it's a location change, uh, it's mostly it's like a cutscene. Now I won't say the chapter. I'll say this. We'll say that's a single story beat. That's a cutscene story beat, which is fine. Which, if combined with those other ones, makes it. And is there a justification for me to leave that in there as a separate chapter? Is there something, um, or should I switch it back to 19? If I switch it back to 19, that means I have to rename all the consecutive numbers to that. And actually, it's not a big deal because they each have their own names, so I can just renumber them, and it shouldn't be as big of a problem. The only real problem is it'll be kind of tedious because I have to go in and make sure the doors match, uh, flip back to the previous number. And I'll have to make sure I rename the files to the previous number, and then I'll have to go in the meta files and do the same thing. And of course, it having its own chapter, it's important enough that it could warrant its own chapter. I just don't have enough story beats to give it a chapter. Because not only would I need to create 3 more story beats um, for that chapter, I would also need to um, I'd also need to put decision point uh, have it have decision points in there, and it might be just a flavor thing, but I'd still have to do it for that. Let me think for a moment. Hmm. And also, like I said, it's not that it's much ado about Quicksilver, is I could streamline this. Red Hot Riding Hood. That's part of the Comfy UI image prompt. I don't know if you know the old Tex Avery cartoon for MGM called Red Hot Riding Hood. It's basically a retelling of Red Riding Hood in a contemporary setting. That's where you get the whole thing about the wolf, like eyes popping out and tongue falling out and stuff, um, kind of thing. Here, let's see if I can. You've probably seen it, but here, let's see if I can pull up an image here. Uh, Avery Riding Hood. Okay, yeah. Reimagined the classic fairy tale, Little Red Riding Hood is a bold, adult-oriented comedy with a modern urban setting featuring a sultry nightclub singer named Red Hot Riding Hood, voiced by um, womanizing Big Bad Wolf. Um, yeah, let's just go to the images real quick. Okay, that's that's red there, but I have a GIF here. That's yeah, that's a little okay. It's just a reference to this cartoon, though. Little Royal Riding Hood, it was a takeoff of this, a little bit different. There were several different. Anyways, you can come up with the storyboards. I wonder if storyboards exist for that. Uh, Here, I like this still right here. There's the one in white is Swing Cinderella. They use basically the same model for Cinderella here. Uh, Anyways, it's just about that cartoon basically. That's why I called it that. Our Red Riding Hood is actually she was involved with Max in the past, and um, he tried to use her to get the werewolves to sign on. Anyways, let me go back to this here. Okay, so here's you have dwarf mines. Roland and half dwarf approaches the entrance, and old dwarf Roland stumbles out, tells him his dad's trapped in Gnome Kingdom. Roland goes into the dwarf mines, and then from there finds the secret entrance. And I put that as a story beat. That could almost be combined story beats. Now maybe I should ask Chat GPT since I'm gonna. Uh, Here, just say got it. That's fine. Okay, so okay, when looking over chapter 11, I've got some factoring to do in the story here. Um, Basically, chapter 11, which is where Max fires up the machine for the first time, is really only the length of a single story beat. So I'm rethinking leaving it in or merging it. If I re-merge it with existing chapters, I have to rename all of the chapters to reflect one less. Kind of a pain, but I'm thinking of doing it. As containers for an arc, not a single action. You can keep, if a chapter doesn't contain at least one meaningful change, one reaction, it's probably not a chapter. If the beat's important, merge it, don't cut it. Okay. Yeah, I won't it, but I'm still considering where to put it and if there's a way I can expand it out into a full chapter. But having less than 20 is fine. It's just if I want the tedium of renaming all of those. But the next two chapters are part of an arc. And actually, see something here. I actually have, okay, they actually have to go back. Okay, so they have to go back in their mind. So this would still be part of the, oh no, I see, into the Gnome Kingdom, right? So it's 12 and 13 are a single Tear in the Skies, right? Okay, Tear in the Skies is completely different. So, Gnome Kingdom. All right. I could probably put it as part the same arc. So in it, we're first introduced to Roland, the oversized dwarf whose dad is rumored to be a giant. So basically, his mom was a dwarf and his dad was a giant, which results him being the height of approximately a largish man, like 6 feet or almost, or thereabouts, while at the same time still being a child. We'll say a child of 10 to 12. Okay, so he's searching for his dad. And he was previously banished from the dwarf mines for being too large. So he makes one last trek to the entrance to the dwarf mines, and an old friend knows him and tells him his dad is in the Gnome Kingdom, and he makes his way there because he knows the secret entrance. Okay. Okay. So then, chapter 13. Let's see if I got this right, because chapter 12, does he goes in, right? Okay. So So then he's reunited with his dad, and his dad is actually chained to a machine that helps break down the ore, the raw ore, to extract the quicksilver. And his dad tells him to find Hubert and tell him that Max is enslaving people, and because he needs tons of quicksilver ore. He needs tons of quicksilver. And then Roland sneaks back out and makes his way to Scarborough Fair Chicken, where he encounters the Count, who and then Hubert goes back to the motel and tells Hubert and brings Owen with him. Actually, he goes to go get it. He might just bring it with him. So then Roland tells them what's going on, and they also see the plans for the Omni-Gate, and now they have a plan, which means that Roland and now John have to go back into the mines to rescue the slaves. So chapter 13 is what happens to them there. They're actually caught. Actually, let's see something here. There's something that's odd here too. That's 14. That's not what I want. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, but this is right. This is right. Okay, so if I go to 14, right, and then we go to 15, back to the mines. Okay, right. Chapter 14, we switch to Sir William and Hubert, who go to the administration castle. We'll just say go to the castle. I don't need to say administration. Who go to the castle so that Hubert can get his magic back, and then Sir William leaves, and Hubert gave him wings. So that Hubert can get his magic back, and Sir William leaves, and then has an aerial battle with the Black Knight. When all is said and done, Black Knight is presumably dead. Okay, so wait, let's go back to 13. Okay, they go back into the mines. Tear in the skies. Back to the mines. Wait a second. Let's do that. Let's see some here. Oh, shoot. Let's delete. So chapter 12. Okay. Okay, so chapter 12 is that. Okay. Roland finds out they're enslaving the citizens and tourists to work Max's mines. He returns and finds Hubert gives him the info. They then take that info along with the Omni-Gate plans and figure that first they need to free the slaves, and Hubert needs to get his magic back. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Hubert needs to get his magic back. Dang it, it's almost time for me to go here. But, okay, he turns, Sir William into a winged unicorn using his, magic problem. His, this ability casts a spell to transform Sir William into a bird, and just like he thought, it only gave wings to Sir William. They take off for the castle, and then when Sir William leaves, he has a battle with the Black Knight Lord, a dragon. So that makes up chapter 14, and chapter 15 is where John and Roland head back into the mines. But they get recaptured. They get captured. And at the end, Hubert manages to break into the mine walls by crashing a flying train to let everyone leave. Okay. Okay. I'm just telling it. Misuse of magic. Sir William becomes waiting unicorn. They depart for the castle. Sir William versus the Black Knight on Dragon Spectacle chapter. Clean and focus works perfectly as zone chapter. John and Roland infiltrate the mines. They're captured. Stakes peak. He crashes the flying train through the mine wall. Chapter resolves in with liberation. Yes, I'm considering this. So it kind of works with the whole thing of what they learn about the mines. This is the big midpoint, so they learn a whole lot of information. There's the giant machine and the quicksilver needed to power it. So it can actually start off chapter 11, which is 12 right now. So now I'm looking at the chapters and thinking I can reconfigure some of these, but I'm trying to figure out the best to do that. I think there's a beat. I think there's a these are actually multiple story beats, I guess. Well, no, it's one beat, right? Multiple sentences. I think there's a story beat that should actually be merged. Which means the result is it makes it into 3 beats, then the firing up of the machine makes it 4, and then the resulting chapter after, where they wait, where, okay, let me look. What you do about Quicksilver, the Gnome Kingdom. Okay. Has only 3 beats. Now, the way I grouped these is um, 3 beats in chapter, what was that? That was 13, right? Yeah. 13 and 5 in chapter 15. However, moving it up means that there's going to be 4, 4, and 5. I don't actually need it to be, it can be 5. I mean, I guess it can still be 5 if it's justified. So, which is normal. Structurally, you're already in a good place. Beat counts don't need symmetry. 3, 4, 5 is fine, especially around a midpoint. Midpoints often breathe. Midpoint chapters should need to be 4, 3, and 5, but that's alright. Allowed to be heavy. It clicks over the mines. The scope of max operation justifies 4-beat chapter. Hitting the machine, firing up. Wow, I didn't even think about that. I was going to do that as the kind of inciting incident there. Machine firing beat 4. Strong midpoint punctuation. Be leader. Momentum. Yeah, that's true. Now, chapter 10 was where they get out of Lapswood. Okay. Okay, so let me put down the. Let me page the chapter contents of the 3 chapters. And then I guess I can call it a day because my time is about up. Okay, so we're going to go to chapter 11. Copy. I wonder if I should put that in a. No. Anyways, let's do that. Paste. And then we're going to go to chapter 12 here. I'm going to Control C, Control V. Okay. Jump down here to 13. Copy. Control V. And Tear in the Skies is 14. Let's go to 15. Copy. Control V. Okay. Save as. Let's go to and we're going to call this not going to call it that. We're going to call this Quicksilver Chronicles. The Quicksilver Chronicles. I'm just being, fanciful, whatever. Having some fun here, calling it that. Select all. Copy. Okay, so here's the full text, including everything else in chapter 11 as it stands now. Let me know once you reviewed it. It'll be quick. I mean, it doesn't really need to do it because it reviews it instantly. It's clear, coherent instructions on it's not a rewrite, it's a repackaging issue. Chapter 11 is a single strong midpoint beat, not a full chapter arc. 12 and 13 are already functioning as one continuous information decision arc. Chapter 15 is doing the heavy lifting and justifiably has more beats. Consistent with classic structure. Nothing here is wasted. Everything is a clear narrative job. Reslap the machine beat cleanly. Lock the midpoint. Renumber with the minimal pain. Sanity check. Beat counts. Okay. So you think everything can pretty much stay as is, other than the fact that firing up the machine happens probably in the beginning of chapter chapter 11. And actually, what I'm going to do as far as the rename goes is I'm going to rename everything after, which I have to do anyways. I'm not going to merge everything back. I'm just going to add the one to the other and then rename it. Urge extra beats because it resolves consequences. So back to back. Okay. So I don't want you to come up with anything, because we're going to use that 7-step process next time. But could you tell me if any of those chapters could hold decision points? Could possibly. Like I said, going through that process later, like tomorrow or whenever. Could hold decision. Um, don't need to go through it. I'm just wondering if any look like they're just cut scene only chapters for tomorrow. Uh, minor agency, okay. Okay, I'll take that into account, possibly rewriting some of it to account for possible decision points. This will be a game after all. I'm not writing a movie, although I am writing the story like you might structure a screenplay. Treat the chapters like screenplay beats for pacing, but sprinkle in manner decision points wherever the player can influence perspective, approach, or flavor. That keeps things interactive without forcing major branching. Um, okay, thanks. That's all for today. I will take it later. Okay, so there we have it. Didn't get anything done. Well, that's actually not true. We did get some stuff done. We actually really did. Um, I actually might have the script to do the renaming though myself even. I have to see if I've got that. Anyways, so let me do my little last recording thing here before signing off. Start recording. Okay, today is Monday, February 23rd, 2026, and today I had kind of some trouble with the streaming stuff wasn't working properly at first, and so I didn't get a whole lot done. I was worrying about progress bars and still trying to see if there is a way to uh, actually let's go ahead and close this. Um, so I came up with this. Nope, not there. Uh, I put it in. Where's dev stuff? Darn it. Oh, there we go. Odds and ends. Uh, oh, I forgot. I did put it in. Well, maybe I didn't put it in there. What the heck? Favorites. Adventure game progress. Anyways, so I came up with this texting to show the progress until I can actually make a progress meter. And then I discussed with ChatGPT about reorganizing a few things. Probably getting rid of chapter 11, Fire the Machine one, as its own chapter, and put it back into the couple of other chapters as story arcs. So yeah, So I didn't get that much done today, but I did figure out how I was going to reorganize things a little bit, and I'm going to rework a few things, and tomorrow I'll be back on track. Okay, so I guess thanks for bearing with me today. Anybody that's actually been watching, thanks Rook for being in here, and everyone else. So I guess I'll see you tomorrow. So thank you for watching part 2. See you tomorrow at the same time.